Welcome back to T is for Transformation. I'm your host, Shaun T, and today we are exploring the power of embracing one's cultural roots in the face of adversity. Born in New York with deep Latino roots, Danielle Rosario navigated the complexities of cultural identity and the stigmas surrounding mental health. Listen, I know firsthand. I have been told throughout my health and wellness journey from people in my family that I was getting too skinny when I was only trying to better myself and my health. So join us as we uncover how Danielle turned her struggles into strengths using fitness and mental health awareness to carve a path to a stronger self despite others. Here's a listen into Danielle's story.
My name is Danielle. I'm from Arizona, sunny Arizona. My geographic changes, starting from New York and my Latino culture, has always been with me. I guess I'll say it that way. Moving very young, at the age of about 6, to Minnesota, my parents did that to have a better life for me as a child. I'm glad they did that. At the same time, there's different challenges that came with that. Coming to Minnesota, I got a lot of that. A lot of names. A lot of, you don't look Puerto Rican, you don't look Latino, and being called cracker, white girl, things like that. But everything I did, I realized that I needed to do for myself in every way, shape, and form. I was well over 200 pounds and not happy. Fitness is truly a part of how I feel well, mentally, emotionally, and physically every day. The advice I would give to others who are in similar situations is advice I have given. Small changes first, then look at the big changes. Look at what you can control versus what you can't control. And while that may be hard, those are small wins.
Danielle, welcome to the show. Come on up here.
It's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you, thank you.
Let's have a seat. Let's chat this up. All right, Danielle, so we're talking about culture and identity and, to be quite honest, all of the trials and tribulations that could possibly go with that. So I'm going to just throw this to you because this is a topic that a lot of people don't talk about. And when it comes to race and minorities and things that happen within our own families, like oftentimes we're told to let's not talk about that outside the house, but we're going to talk about that outside the house today.
Good.
So
I'm here for it.
Explain your experience growing up in the Latino culture and, go with it, and then we'll continue to chat on.
Absolutely. So, I grew up first years of my life until about the age of 6 in New York. So there were a lot of New Yorkers there. There was a lot of diversity in terms of everything you can think of, not just color, but the food and everything. So that's where my start was. And I felt more accepted there. My parents, my family, everybody knew, lived and breathed the Latino culture. It was accepted. And then, moving to Minnesota, for example, it's a whole new world. And then there's trying to find your culture, trying to find your group. And my parents did a great job of that. But outside of that is where I started to see that I tried to fit in. Outside of the family, you're not as accepted if you're trying to stand out or to show who you are in all facets because I present white. I'm white passing, as they call it.
So do you feel like, and I'm just going to dive right in here, first of all, how did that affect you knowing, because a New York Latina is, it's a very strong culture in New York. You say New Yorican, it's a lot of Puerto Ricans up there. So how did that make you feel just initially, like you're white passing?
Even hearing it now, and it doesn't go away. I'll say it never goes away, but it feels negative. It feels like I need to prove myself. I need to prove my roots and my ethnicity because of what people see.
Now, who do you have to prove it to? Do you have to prove it to people outside of your race, or do you feel like you have to prove it more to people within the Latino culture?
It's both.
Really?
Yeah, I would say that because there's a focus. There's a focus on color, truly. And it's something where if you're not dark enough, which I tanned excessively for a good amount of my life, trying to be seen as Latina, being dark, having the color.
What was the first time you actually felt like you experienced it? Was it in New York? Because I know while you said your parents like raised you in this culture, and we know what that is, and you say that you also experienced some of that negativity within the culture. What what were some of the experiences that you've had doing that?
So I would say, thinking back to New York, it was a little bit there starting. There were a lot of people of color, and I was the lightest person still. But some of my best friends were Latina and Black and Asian. But it was, I was the white girl. But the white girl trying to prove herself that I am one of you,
Yeah.
just because I look white, I am Latina, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm proud. But that continued in high school, it continued in college through a multicultural student services scholarship that I got.
Yeah.
I was called Cracker. What is the white girl doing here?
Wow. What I find to be very interesting, and I'm just going to keep it very real, is
Yeah.
that, I can only speak for within the Black culture where, we oftentimes are like, racism, and we do all these things to fight, to find equality, and it's not about the color of your skin, and I can do X, Y, and Z. But even within the culture, it's like, well, that person's light skinned. Like I was always like,
Right.
well, you light skinned. And
Yeah.
even the fact that I'm married to a white man, it's like, well, he's light skinned. Like, of course he would marry a white guy. It's all of these like little racial things within our cultures that is
Yeah.
really hypocritical, because you would think that if anything it's like, yo, well, we're all one within this culture. Like, and I talk about this a lot. There's so many people in the world, and I just don't understand how even within these cultures, like they expect everyone to be the same.
Yeah.
It's like being different is not okay. So when you moved to Minnesota, what were some of the struggles that you did? Did you have struggles getting friends? Did you have struggles finding, your clique or your crew because of your identity? They couldn't recognize who you were or what you stood for?
Yes, all the above, and even romantically. So you bring up, marriage, but I remember high school. High school and middle school stick out to me a lot, trying to find my crew, my squad, and it was generally individuals who were predominantly white, but more so not so popular either. It was hard, but dating too, where I was interested in a biracial male. And I remember very clearly his sister had picked up the phone and said, never call here again, Cracker. Never met me, but just was going off of my voice too. And that's another thing that I experienced too. You don't have an accent. Are you, you're Latina? Yes. Yes, I am.
Yeah. It's just so interesting. I think mostly because I truly am one of those people that's like, I don't care what you are. I have friends of all different races. I truly don't care. I do know that when I get with my Black friends, it's a
Yeah.
whole different type of cut up. It's just our culture. Just like if
Yeah.
I'm with my, Latino friends, like it's a different culture. So I do know. So what would you say was like the turning point for you where you started to try and figure out like, okay, I need to navigate this? Was it your age? Was it in a marriage, in a relationship? Like what was like that defining point where you had to like be like, I have to transform away from this negativity and not let it define me?
I would say it was probably around 2016. I can remember it pretty vividly, but it was mental health, it was work, it was personal, it was challenging beliefs and values, and where I learned those from. Are they my beliefs? So with all of that, I realized, plus several years later after I moved to Arizona in particular, that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what people think. I know what I am, quote unquote. I know how passionate I am. Their reactions and their perception of me doesn't matter. So I started to take my power back.
I love that. Speaking of taking the power back, you are in HR. And so with your experience, with having your own experience within your race, or have there been situations in your workplace where you're like, Okay, like you're able to use some of your experiences to diffuse situations or to help other employees?
Every day, I feel. We're unofficially lawyers, we're unofficially counselors. We wear so many hats, but yes, one of the things that sticks out to me was at a former employer where there was a panel. I'm part of the DEI committees pretty much everywhere I go since 2012, I would say. And they had a white passing Latino panel. So there were
It
other,
was called that?
it wasn't called that per se, but
Oh, it was just, oh, I
it
was
was
like,
featuring
what? Yeah.
it was featuring Latinos that are light skinned and bringing awareness to what we're talking about today. So I felt a little sense of community with others who see themselves or others see them as white passing. And we talked and we bonded, but we also shared experiences with others. And what we did in that case was try to bring awareness to it's not just about color and to not assume and that we're all human.
Yeah. So tell me more about this panel. What kind of event was it? Because I'm like, how does something like that actually get brought to life?
Yeah, so it was part of the DEI Committee, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion.
Okay, yeah.
And it was part of the multicultural cohort of sorts. There were a few different cohorts, and I was part of all of them because I wanted to be, plus I'm in HR. And it was just one of the opportunities that we had talked about. You know, what do we want to talk about? What do we want to bring awareness to? We have Black History Month, we have Pacific Islanders, we have Hispanic Heritage Month. But what aren't people talking about? And we all kind of came together and talked about this, which is why we're here. You know, there's white passing individuals, but these are the challenges that we face. And it's sometimes opposite of what we hear. And we don't actually talk about this often. But even the words person of color, which has come to light recently in past years, that hurts here too, because the color I am to everybody else is white.
Yeah.
And it almost becomes a negative feeling to be white or to be seen as white.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, I don't mean this to be aggressive. Like, do you find there's something wrong with being white, or do you find there's something wrong with the fact that people aren't seeing you for who you are?
The second.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it comes down to, being respected, being seen, being just not tolerated, but no assumptions. And I think that's the biggest thing is people assume. And then the reactions come, the eyes, what? You know, you get those looks.
Like you are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm kind of undercover in a sense. When I hear people speaking in Spanish, I understand everything.
Well, I mean, that's a positive. Go out there talking shit. You're like, oh, okay.
Exactly. And then I start talking, or I say, I understand everything you say. And then they just kind of freeze up.
Very
I
interesting.
say, what? But, you know, those reactions are hurtful.
Yeah. Did you have to, with, you know, the experience you've had, did you have to go to therapy for it? Like, was there any, and if you did go to therapy, walk me through the process of deciding and why you decided to go into some of the things that you talked about in therapy to help you heal.
Absolutely. So therapy was not accepted. It was not something that my family discussed. So there was shame. There was shame and just negative feelings about it. However, when I reached that turning point in about 2016, when I was at a former employer as the HR director at that time, there was a lot going on professionally. So it kind of came to a head in all senses. Work, personal, I was married at the time, and family. And unpacking it all. You know, I had called the EAP program, Employee Assistance Program, at my own job. And that's how I started getting into counseling and therapy and talking about all these things and unpacking the multi-layers that delve into this topic culturally. But we did talk about my parents. We talked about my upbringing. We talked about mental health and how I realized it was present pretty much my whole life. And it was never talked about.
You know, I have a friend, a really close friend of mine, who has told us a story many times where she went to a private school. She's a Black woman, light skinned. She basically looks like me as a woman, probably a little bit lighter. But she went to school, and then when she went to a private school, and then when she went to a high school, she felt just like you. She was just kind of like in this like purgatory state where the Black people were like, why you here? Like, you ain't black. And they just wanted to fight her just because she was light skinned and light eyes. And then obviously, you know, the white people accepted her. So then she's like, well, I'm going to hang with them, but then still get ostracized for hanging with them. You know, I just kind of wanted to explain that from another perspective, because a lot of people, they don't really understand what like how you feel. They're just like, oh, well, you know, it's fine, you know. But when your identity is who you are and you're being perceived as something else, it's almost like you're being called a fraud.
Yes.
So how does that feel? Like, where are you now in this journey, and what were some of the what were more of the ways you were able to be like, you know what, I'm gonna continue to climb this mountain and get to a place where I feel good about who I am?
Yeah, I mean, even this year, truly, and I'm part of the DEI committee at a company that didn't have it before. And I wanted to bring a different perspective to them because of my story. I said, I want to help you from experience, but also my story. So how I have kind of helped myself and come through it is through experience, through counseling, through having honest and courageous conversations with not only friends, but even romantic partners.
Yeah.
My family as much as I can, and I say
Tell
that,
me about
you know.
tell me about like, what were the conversations with the romantic partner about? I'm really interested in that, because this is like oftentimes, whether you're still with that person or not,
Yeah.
there are oftentimes people who accept you for you. Like, they don't necessarily oftentimes see race. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
they do if they do, but tell me about some of those conversations with your spouse at the time.
Yeah, so it's with, I wouldn't say the spouse per se, but it was just some romantic partners, for example, that, you know, meeting my family or talking about, you know, I'm Latina and you're going to see this, you know, in my family. To them, it's not something real because I'm white still, you know, I
Right.
present as white.
Yeah.
And it hurts when it's especially somebody close to you or that you feel accepts you in every other way, but there's this block in some way, shape, or form to take you for what you are, how you feel, validation, and just honestly to be respected.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you know, we have 23andMe, we have all these DNA tests, but at the end of the day, this is my bloodline. And I
Yeah.
do feel strong about it. And I shouldn't have to hide it or feel like I need to fight to have people see what I already know and what I was raised to be.
Yeah,
Who
I mean,
am.
yeah, that's true, because image, you know, be it racial image, body image, you know, like your image, you know, I don't want to bring this up, but like, I'll take even transgender people, like,
Yeah.
they know who they are, but people ostracize them for who they are, but they're like, but this is me. Like, why are you trying to take away what is me when I'm trying to tell you who I am? And it's almost like a living nightmare
Yeah.
when you are who you are. How has fitness been a kind of like a helper along the way throughout this journey?
Oh my gosh. So, you know, it's been a roller coaster because I was a heavy kid most of my child time, if you could even say that, my childhood. And it came to a point where I wasn't happy. I was getting comments from even family members, my grandma in particular, had said, you know, I'm gordita, you know, I'm fat and chunky. So I started working out. My grandmas were very vain until the days they passed, but it stuck with me. You know, those words from family members really hurt, really
Yeah.
deep. And I remember exercising in the basement of my childhood home to Beachbody programs at that time on VHS. And
Oh, that's old school.
yes, and it would be my outlet in high school. I remember losing a bunch of weight, and my grandma would still say, "You're gordita," you know, and it stuck. But I ebbed and flowed. I was up to 244 pounds at one point, just kind of eating my feelings. And the freshman 15 became the freshman 100. You know, I don't even know what it became. But I just realized at that point that there was a lot of trauma. And it was also from what I said, the multicultural student services program that was in my college where people were saying these things.
Yeah.
I just kept eating my feelings. So at one point, I just remember saying that was enough. I think one of my partners had left me, you know, a romantic partner had left me. And I said, is it because I'm fat? You know, all these things, like these self-image
Yeah.
feelings came up. But I got really serious. I pushed through all of that pushed through the negativity, started focusing on myself in 2009, which helped my mental health, which didn't cure everything, but it was my outlet.
Right, right.
And I saw your infomercial actually in 2009.
Oh, you're dating me. Just kidding.
It was insanity. I saw that. Did I do insanity right there? No, I was 244 pounds. That was not going to happen. But that's what started. And I started doing the T25s and getting in the gym. And there's no magic pill, but it helped me. And I lost over 100 pounds and got a little unhealthy with an eating disorder. But that was how I could focus my negative energy, is working out.
Well, let's talk about the eating disorder. How much of your childhood and the impact of that foundation had to do with the eating disorder?
So I would say it wasn't necessarily the childhood, but of course the feelings are always there.
Right.
I'm too fat, I'm not thin enough, all these things.
Yeah.
But it was more so in 2011, and it was with a partner I was with and some unhealthy things. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
And I did have an eating disorder, so I had bulimia. I did not get treatment for it medically, but I had a wonderful friend, a great support system that helped me get through that and realize that my gravitational pull on the earth, the scale and what it says, does not define me, and that it's how you feel, how you look in your clothes, the progress that you see, and that helped me get through that. So having a good support system is helpful to get through those mental health challenges and the negative beliefs.
I mean, it's also like some of those same things you can apply to your image and what people say about you. And while your cultural background and your race or whatever, it is a part of your definition. It also, you know, I like to tell people who are going through this, like, you're human first. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And like, obviously, I'm a big fan of culture. You know, I love my black folk. I love my white folk. I love my gays. I love my
Everybody.
Jewish folk. They invite me to Shabbat. Like, I love it all.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So while it is a part of you, at the end of the day, you know, it's like really about you walking through life and just being like, this is me. Just like in The Greatest Showman.
Yes.
This is why, one of the reasons why I love that movie, because, you know, this is me. And so I'm sure you are either close to there or have gotten there, but, you know, whenever you can walk out and be like, this is me, I think that's like a great response for people who do get put down because they may not be passing as the race that they are. They may be overweight. They may, you know, the gravitational pull of the earth may not be their best friend.
Right.
But you're like, this is me. And this is me at this very moment, you know? And so, so continue to talk about like the fitness journey and how, like, cause I want to know, what was your process of losing over 100 pounds? Because it's easy to say, right? Like, that's how I made money off of infomercials. I'm like, this is me before, this is me after, boom. But like, what was the process of taking those steps? Because, you know, I think that also can help a lot of people, because I'm sure there were some mental barriers in the way.
Absolutely. So the journey for me, from what I can recall, was just knowing there's no magic answer. Nobody's going to do it for you or for me in that sense. So I focused on small
They ain't gonna do it for me either.
Right? You got to put in the work.
Right.
So yes, do I want to work out every day? Probably not. But you know what? For me, as it started as a struggle every single day and something I absolutely didn't want to do, I got dressed, I showed up, I did the drive to the gym, or I put on the DVD at the time, streamed the workout, and you just do it. So it was drinking more water, not limiting what I eat in terms of, I can't eat that cheesecake. I can eat the cheesecake. I just don't eat the whole slice.
Yeah.
So everything in moderation. And people ask me actually all the time still, how did you do it? That's how I did it. Move more, eat less, drink more water, and focus on yourself. Don't compete with anybody else. Compete with yourself. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
So I saw the pounds drop, even though there was some unhealthy years, you know, with the eating disorder. But now I'm good. I'm good in the sense that if the scale says, you know, whatever it says, I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm not going to want to go throw up my food. And that's real.
Yeah.
There were so many times I can remember looking at pictures still. I remember going to the bathroom and throwing up my food.
Yeah.
I don't do that. Had calluses on my fingers. I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, Kyle, from lifting weights?
Nope.
Oh, I was like,
from the eating disorder.
really? How?
Yeah. So doing it so much, you can get calluses
Really?
in here. Yeah. And I had a good friend that noticed it and said,
Wow.
we need to talk. And so that's how I talked about it, got real with them, and they
When I
helped
think
me.
calluses, I think this. You're talking about calluses.
I have
from
those
that.
too, but now they're here.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
changed, yeah.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Never even would have thought that that was, I was going to say a warning sign, but it's beyond a warning sign. It's a
Yeah.
telltale sign.
Absolutely.
How did that friend approach you? Because, I mean, there might be people out there that may see a friend that's going through something and, suffering from that. Like, what was her?
Here's him.
It was him. What was
Yeah.
his approach to be able to do that in such a way that made you feel comfortable to actually trust them to continue to help you push and get better through this?
So it was somebody who I was vulnerable and open with, which that's also something from the culture is being emotionally unavailable, kind of boxing things in. You don't cry, you don't go to counseling, you just grit through it and bear it, climb up that hill, get
Yeah,
over it.
yeah.
It doesn't exist. But they had gone to counseling themselves for several years. They're also military. They've gone through a lot. So I think they had kind of learned the balance at that point, predominantly with counseling though, and kind of understood how to approach me. They know me in and out still to this day, and they can talk to me, make me feel seen about whatever it is. Now it's not that topic.
Yeah.
But at that time it was, let's talk about what's behind the eating disorder. I care about you. I'm here to support you. I'm here to listen. And that's really all it took.
And again, what was behind the eating disorder? What did you guys unveil?
What was unveiled was that I was allowing somebody at the time, so my ex-husband now, to have certain events that happened where he had female friends and there were boundaries that were crossed. It was things like that where
So you were comparing yourself to the people that he was crossing boundaries with.
things that had happened, the fact
Yeah.
they were still in his life, yes, but also it was, I'm here, I'm in front of you. And it was trying so much to say, look at me, I'm here. Why don't you want me? Why am I not?
To be seen by
You're number
somebody who
one.
doesn't want to see you.
Yeah.
When really you should have, I say should have, but when
Hindsight.
hindsight being 2020, really
Yeah.
you should have been like, well, I don't need to change me. I need to change this environment.
Yes. Yes.
Because that's the real
not
lesson.
healthy.
Yeah, it's not healthy. I mean, it's also the lesson that I think, I'm not sure why you moved away from New York to Minnesota, but like, I know at one point, I think you maybe felt like you were running away from like certain situations, but like, I think sometimes the phrase "be strong" can also have a negative connotation to it, because people, when you're too strong, you stay for too long. You try to fight for something for too
Yes.
long. As you navigated your way from New York to Minnesota, now Arizona, come through, neighbor.
Right.
It's just like you're just finding your way. And I've said this before, but I just love this book, What the Road Said, because it says sometimes you have to go the wrong way on your way to the right way.
Yeah.
And it's like, whether it be an eating disorder, not being able to deal with family the way, a professional would help you do it, or dealing with, being called a cracker. Like that's such these derogatory terms that people don't even think and how much they're going to affect you. Like, I'm just glad you were able to say, you know what, I'm just going to, like, this wasn't my way and now I'm on the right path. So what would you say to people out there? Like, what is one piece of advice you would give people who may be going through something similar that could maybe, slow down the process or help them get past certain barriers that you went through when it comes to your identity?
Absolutely. So for me, the quote that sticks in my head and I think of often is that everything on the other side of fear is everything you want and need. And that's what you had said earlier too, running away. When I was moving to Arizona, my parents, who again, guilt, Catholicism, Latino culture and roots, all the things that come with that, it's you can't run away from your problems. I wasn't running away from my problems. I was doing exactly what you said, taking a stand, moving myself out of the environments that were not healthy, no longer serving me.
No one's going to stand outside in a thunderstorm, so why do you expect me to stay here with you? I'm not doing that. Like,
Yeah.
it's very similar for me. It's one of the reasons why I moved away from my hometown. I'm like, this isn't serving me. And you can get mad that I'm leaving, but I'm going to thrive in the
Right.
best way
Yes.
possible. And if you don't do that and you don't break, like you said, on the other side of fear is everything you need. Of course, is it scary to do that? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But my friend said in a show one time, change is good.
Change is good.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it's a topic that a lot of people don't understand, and they see people walking down the street and they wouldn't necessarily, well, they think you're white. So they definitely don't think you were going through that. But I appreciate you being so transparent with that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And when we come back, our teachable moments are going to be focused on some of the issues that Danielle went through, so stick around. In today's teachable moment, we're diving into how cultural identity shapes our health, fitness, and mental well-being. Danielle Rosario's journey illuminates how deeply our cultural backgrounds influences our health behaviors, from the activities we choose to the foods we eat. Different cultures have distinct views on physical activities and dietary habits, shaping how individuals approach fitness and nutrition. For instance, cultural norms can dictate the types of physical activities deemed acceptable, influencing everything from participation in community sports to personal fitness routines. And let's talk diet. Cultures also profoundly affect dietary choices. From the celebrated Mediterranean diet to traditional foods that might not align with modern health guidelines, cultural preferences play a crucial role in our nutritional practices. Additionally, the concept of presenting white, which Danielle had faced as a challenge in her journey, can also impact health outcomes. The dynamic can complicate self-identity and affect mental health and access to culturally competent care. Speaking of mental health and well-being, in many cultures to this day, mental health issues are stigmatized or not recognized as legitimate health concerns, which can prevent individuals from seeking their much-needed help. Today, we heard about a journey of transformation that was not just about physical change, but about overcoming deep-seated fears and embracing her identity to live a fuller, healthier life. Growing up with certain cultural expectations can be challenging, but it is possible to chart your own path. Remember, don't let anyone, family included, keep you from pursuing your wellness goals. It is possible to keep moving forward with courage and define your own success. Continue to trust and believe in who you are. Continue to transform in your way. My name is Shaun T. I'll see you next time. Peace out.